empty spot.
Yeah.
Before there were sites in New York.
Yeah, and then it got to be, IBM was I've been moved, and you could move all over. And, I don't know. Recently, it's gotten so it's pretty hard to get a transfer with moving and living in it now. It used to be that was pretty easy, so it was kind of nice to be able to move and have a chance to go somewhere closer. Colorado was nice. We enjoyed it there, but both our families were back east. And Roz and I like to have things growing in the yard, and out there you didn't get much rain, so if you didn't irrigate, you had no chance. Here, I don't know, recently it's been a little but for a long time it seemed like this, the water here was good, and you got rain, and you get grow stuff and terminals, and I worked with Murray Bolt on the rocket system back then in the 70s, which was the first stuff that had SNA on it, and I was in the SNA architecture stuff. Citron was too back ages ago, but that was yeah, we don't know how long ago that was.
Yeah, don't say I'm 39.
Developing the architecture, that was worked with Mr. Gray, Jim Gray on many. He was always kind of our lead guy in all the architecture stuff. But it's been fun developing that. In the early '80s, we had kind of an interesting project. Mike Wallach and I worked on that personal telephone manager, and we brought this kind of along. But it basically has all the things that the standard phones have, but we did this back in the early '80s, did it on a PC. We had a voice recognition, the whole works. Of course, it's pretty expensive, so it didn't sell that well, but it was fun working on it. And then I came, and they said, well, about then was when I decided that hardware and IBM seemed to be getting out of the hardware business. I said, well, I'm going to have to switch from hardware into software, so since the early '80s, I was doing software, and late '80s, I came into what was a architecture implementation group, working on basically the same thing I'm working on now. It was on the PCs at first. We had HTTPC, and then we did the APN stuff. Austin said, well, we're not sure that PCs are ready to have it. And we said, well, man, if SNA's going to go, it's got to be on PCs, because PCs are the wave of the future. And so we got them to put it on it, and PCs got bigger and bigger, and can't live without them. But, so I've been on basically the comm server stuff, various phases of it, for 20 years, which is a long time. It's been good. All right, comments?
How old are you?
Maybe not physically, mentally.
It's not the years, it's the miles.
Yeah, I get a lot of miles. Hit a lot of tennis balls. Been doing that for most of that time.
So I was wondering how you knew all of that. You kept all of the APPC code in your head, and we would give you a problem.
Yeah, it'd be here. No problem. Come up all the time with him. He was in our test group, and we were testing particularly the gateway stuff. And he says, "Oh, we found this problem." I said, "Well, I know how to fix that." So I'd come up with the now that we don't use real disks to drag them around, but that's what we always used then. Yep. We called it Jamin, which is my initials. Yeah, it was nice to be in control of it, so I could code it and all that. I didn't have to worry about writing defects and all that. I just coded it, put it in, worked.
Well, it was funny because we went one time and gave you, we were working on Daiichi Bank.
Oh,
right?
Yeah, that was fun.
And we gave John a problem, and John, he'd start looking at it on the terminal, and then he'd look up and
what's going to happen now?
Everything would start churning, and he's doing this. And we went to lunch and came back, and an hour later, he's then he gets onto the terminal and fixes the problem, right? Because he had it all in his head.
Yeah.
So that's the way he worked it out. And just one quote, and I'm glad you asked me here, because one quote was you told me one time, "I'll be retired by the time we deliver Daiichi Bank."
Oh, man. Yeah, and then he sent me over there. Over Japan.
So we sent John over to Japan. We were working on a problem, and we sent John over to Japan. And so this is at the end of the day, we say we got to have somebody on site. So John goes, gets on the airplane. We keep working on it. John flies over, takes a train to Yamato or wherever, and so that's a couple-hour train ride. Comes back online. What's that? 15 hours, 16 hours, something like that. Back online. We're still working on it. John works through the day. So he took the plane flight over there, worked through the day, worked through that night. We got it fixed. And so the account team, John goes to get on the train to go back to Tokyo to spend the night, which is a 2-hour train ride. So they put a little chain around his neck with a tag that said in Japanese, "Wake me when I get to this." They actually woke you, didn't they?
But then the one time, they said, well, I said, I want to catch the last train. And they said, well, that's all right. We can send you in a cab. Well, the cab is, I don't know, $50, $60 to go back in. And I said, well, that's no problem. You can charge it to us and we'll sign off. And I said, all right, fine. So we did that. But Mr. Gilliam here, some of the nights when we were working here, I said, man, we're getting kind of hungry here. So Gilliam would say, all right, fine, I can go out and get some food. What kind do you want? He didn't come back and bring whatever kind we said we wanted that night. But we had a lot of pretty long hours there.
Sometimes we turn the clocks back an hour to make you feel like you're not as tired.
Back when Snow was king, when I was working with John, I worked with a guy named Lee Rathlow, who some of you know, and he was my manager at the time. He said, "I'm going to make a career out of SMA. I never want to have to learn anything else." Now, I've been through 5 jobs since then. John made a career out of it.
Go with it.
Accomplished Lee's dream. You and Subas.
From the early 80s.
With John now. I know. Okay, the story that I have heard is John played, first of all, he's probably 10 years older than me. I'm 39. But we played during lunch, and I'm like dying after 45 minutes, and then John would get dressed and he'd go running after us. But I quit doing that. That's right.
Speaking of that, John, what's this I hear about you running 18 miles from here to home?
Yeah, we run home once a year. That's just test to make sure we can still do that. We got a crew. That's what the one picture was up there.
That's
the
very
crew that ran home
impressive.
with me.
Tell them about with the thunderstorms.
Oh, yeah. Well, the one year at my when I was 50, we said, well, we ought to have something special for being 50. So what we decided to do, a friend of mine, Kirk Price, we said, well, why don't we see if we can get, do 50 miles? I said, no. How about 50K? That's far enough. I said, well, yeah, that sounds good. We can run in back and forth to work, which is about, probably 17 or so miles each way. And man, running in was pretty good. We got up early, got in there, we had to change the clothes. I was surprised how good I felt. And then we're going to run back. There's a thunderstorm. And Ross called and said, don't run. This is going to be bad news. Well, so we stopped up in the 670 series. Well, it did hail. So we stopped up in the 670 series, which isn't very far, right? And we said, well, the storm's by, let's go. It's no big deal. But going through Umstead, we wrap around through Lake Crabtree and up through Umstead because we don't want to be on the road. So we get up there, and there's a creek. And normally it's just, but then it's like, about yay high, do we want to turn around here?